All right, so let's talk envy, huh?
Okay.
We've all been there, right? That feeling in your gut when you see someone else like living your dream life.
Bro, yeah.
Maybe they got that promotion you wanted or booked that amazing trip. And this one gets me every time they just seem to make friends, like effortlessly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what
Like
they're...
that's envy whispering in your ear.
Right.
And what we're diving into today is how this emotion, which can feel kind of small, even a little, embarrassing,
Yeah.
actually has this surprising like depth and power to it.
Absolutely. And I think what's so fascinating about envy is that it can disguise itself as this like almost trivial thing, you know?
Right.
But, when we look at it through the lens of history, like even through spiritual narratives, I mean, this has been a driving force behind some pretty major events.
It's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So to really like unpack that, we're looking at two biblical stories. You're probably familiar with these, Joseph and Jesus.
Yeah.
Two very different stories, but both touched by this shadow of envy.
Absolutely. And what's so interesting is that these stories don't just illustrate envy, you know? I mean, they offer these really important insights into its root causes, which are, surprisingly relevant, I think, to our lives even today.
Yeah.
So let's start with Joseph, right? So you know the story, favored son, the famous coat of many colors,
Oh, yeah.
jealous brothers who end up, selling him into slavery.
Yeah. Talk about family drama.
Right.
But you mentioned that coat, and our source points out that it wasn't just a coat, right? It was symbolic.
Totally. It represented their father's love, his favoritism. And that just fueled the brothers' envy. And I think, when you think about it, envy often isn't about the thing itself, right?
Right.
It's about what that thing represents. Success, status, love, you name it. It's about this nagging feeling that someone else has, something that we should have.
It's that comparison game, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we're often comparing like our worst to their highlight reel.
Exactly.
No wonder we end up feeling envious.
Yeah.
Our source called it discontentment, which, I get it, but I think it's deeper than that, isn't it?
Totally.
It's like this restlessness, this constant feeling of like, ugh, I'm missing out.
Absolutely. And that's where, the danger is, because envy thrives on that feeling of lack, and it can lead us down a slippery slope. I mean, think about Joseph's brothers, right? I mean, their discontentment, it festered because they couldn't trust that their father loved them,
Right.
even if it looked different than the love that Joseph received. And that lack of trust, combined with the envy, it ultimately drove them to make a pretty drastic choice.
And it's kind of wild how like envy can really warp your thinking.
Yeah.
Make you do things you'd never think you'd do.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I guess leads us to our second story, Jesus.
Yeah.
And I mean, you wouldn't think someone like Jesus would be a target of envy.
Right. You'd think he'd be immune.
Yeah.
But, envy, it's less about the person being envied and more about, like, the insecurities of the person, feeling it. Cool. And in Jesus's case, it was the religious leaders who were, like, eaten up with envy.
Okay, see, that's surprising to me. What were they even envious of? Like, you think the miracles, the message.
Right.
You'd think that would win them over.
You'd think, but it was all rooted in fear, right? I mean, they were supposed to be the spiritual authorities, the influencers of their time.
Right, of course.
And then Jesus comes along, challenging everything, drawing these huge crowds.
Probably disrupting the status quo.
Exactly. And it's like they were looking at Jesus through these like totally distorted lenses of envy, which just blinded them to like the truth of his message. Yeah. And that's, I think, a real important point. Envy just warps how you see things.
Yeah. It's like that saying, right? Envy sees only the good fortune of others, never their misfortunes.
Yeah.
Like we get so caught up in what we see as someone else's, quote, better situation.
Right.
That we miss everything else.
And that narrow view, that can lead to some bad choices.
Oh, for sure.
And, in the case of the religious leaders, well, their envy played a part in, Jesus's crucifixion. Yeah. Which I think brings up this question: how do we break free from that, from envy's grip?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. That feels like, that feels easier said than done.
It's definitely a journey, right? But it starts with, I think, with recognizing envy for what it is, a signal.
Okay.
Like it's telling you that something inside is off.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that feeling of lack we talked about, or maybe you need validation, or maybe, honestly, you're just not being kind to yourself.
Okay.
So it's more about like, getting curious about those feelings instead of pretending they're not there.
So instead of just like shoving it down and trying to ignore it, which, let's be honest,
Which we all do.
we've all done that.
Yeah.
We've got to actually be like, okay, what's going on here? What am I really feeling?
Totally. What need are you trying to meet? Like,
Exactly.
and I think that's where forgiveness comes in. And not just forgiving like other people, which is huge, but also forgiving yourself for feeling envious.
Right.
Our source had this really cool analogy. They compared God's forgiveness to a sunrise.
Oh, I love that. So it's like every morning's a chance to reset, to step into, the light of that forgiveness and leave all that darkness behind you.
Yeah, yeah. It's about understanding that we're all human, We all mess up. We all have moments where we're not our best selves, and that's okay. But when you hold on to guilt and shame,
Right.
it's like you're choosing to live in the darkness. You know what I mean?
Instead of embracing that new day. It's a good way to put it. So we're talking about this internal reset button. Yeah, okay, but like, how do we actually do that? Go from feeling jealous and resentful to actually forgiving ourselves and other people.
That's $1 million question, right? Well, our source gave us some concrete steps to cultivate more humility and grace in our lives.
Okay, lay it on me. Actionable steps.
Yeah.
Because that's what I need when it comes to this kind of stuff. So where do we even begin? Like, what can we actually do to really cultivate those things? Humility, grace, all that.
Well, the first step might sound kind of surprising, prayer.
Okay.
But not the gimme kind of prayer.
Right.
It's about like getting real with yourself and maybe even, something bigger than yourself about that envy, admitting, hey, I want what they have, but like without judging yourself for it.
So acknowledging it instead of just trying to like bury it deep down inside.
Exactly. Because let's be real, we all have those moments.
All the time.
And then asking for help, not to make the envy go away necessarily, but to see your own blessings more clearly. Because, and here's the thing, gratitude, that's the antidote.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you're focused on what you're grateful for, you're not, busy obsessing over what you lack. But gratitude, that takes effort sometimes.
Oh, it totally does. That's why our source suggests like actively cultivating it. Keep a gratitude journal. Make a list every day of things you're thankful for, even small things. It's about shifting your perspective.
Retraining your brain, basically, to focus on the good.
I like it. So we're talking about like literally rewiring our thinking. I can get behind that, but it can't just be about us, right?
Right.
There's got to be more to it than that.
You're absolutely right. It's not just the internal stuff. Our source's third step, it's about action, service. Yeah. Getting out of your own head and focusing on helping others.
See, now that feels like a bit of a jump. How does serving help with envy? Because when you shift your focus from what you think you're missing to like the needs of other people, something really amazing happens. You find this different kind of fulfillment, one that comes from connection, from compassion, not comparison. And honestly, it's pretty hard to be stuck in that envious headspace when you're busy, making a difference.
Yeah, it's like that saying, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. But we've talked a lot about forgiving ourselves, and I'm wondering, like, what about those situations where it is someone else's actions that are kind of fueling that envy?
Right.
How do you forgive them?
Man, that's tough. Because forgiveness, that's hard, especially with those like deep hurts. But here's something to think about. Our source talks about meditating on God's love. And not just like as an idea, but as this real like tangible force.
Oh, okay.
And if you can tap into even just a little bit of that unconditional love, that acceptance, it can soften even, the toughest hearts.
It's a powerful image. And it makes me think about like the ripple effect, Like we see in these stories and in our own lives how envy can have these huge, often really negative consequences.
For sure.
But the reverse is true too, right? Forgiveness, grace, just, basic compassion, those things, they have a ripple effect too.
Totally.
And they can heal not just us, but the people around us too.
Absolutely.
It's like we have a choice, right? Like, do we want to perpetuate this cycle of envy and resentment, or do we want to be a part of something bigger, something, I don't know, more life-giving?
It's a great way to put it. It's a choice, and it might seem small, but it can make a huge difference in your life and the lives of everyone around you.
It's definitely something to think about. Big thanks to you, as always, for sharing all this with us. And to you listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, remember to, Go easy on yourselves. Embrace those moments of grace and just keep exploring what it really means to really live.